Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lambo for Sports, featuring the Big Brother, featuring the Solid Sports Network. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Totem Pole Nation. If you need your merch, go to totempolenation.com and find the greatest merch of all time. Now, Utah exposes USC again for the third time in 2 seasons. They beat them twice last year. That was USC's one of their 2 losses besides Tulane in the bowl game. They lost them the close game last year in like 43-41. They got blown out in the Pac-12 Championship game. This was a close game again, but it came down to it came down to what's it called? A roughing the passer on the quarterback and hit him in the head, and the dude was crying. I feel sympathy for him. I really do. I don't feel sympathy for USC. Now, I'm not blaming Lincoln Riley. He wants to win a championship. He says the goal is to win national championships. Somebody in the media put it in the wrong context. I think when his first season got hired, they said, "Oh, the goal is to win a national championship." And I guess somebody in the media took it to a wrong context and said, "Oh, we're gonna win a national championship by week 5." Well, no, that's not what he meant. The expectation of every team is to win a national championship. Especially me coaching high school football. The expectation is to win a national championship. But you're not going to win a national championship in 3 weeks. It doesn't happen. It's called progress and progression. Now, they took it to the wrong turn because they obviously can't beat Utah. USC has dropped 2 straight games since losing to Notre Dame badly. Caleb Williams has not really played up to his expectations. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he just hasn't been the Heisman of Caleb Williams. He didn't throw a touchdown at all. He didn't throw a touchdown. I don't know what to say about USC. It's tough. Utah ran the ball combined of 247 yards. I told you that USC defense is a problem. They can't stop Utah. Every time you watch Utah and USC play each other, Utah runs the ball on them. It's the same thing for the past 2 seasons. Run the ball on USC. It's the same thing. Oh, my God. Stone Vajic and whoever, if I pronounce his name incorrectly, 5 catches for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. They let one dude go off. They let Jaquin Jackson and another, the same name I can't pronounce. He's also, I guess, running back as well. They both combined for maybe about 212 yards rushing. Of course, the quarterback rushed for 57 yards. Obviously, Utah is back. They always been back. But I think Bryson Barnes is a starting quarterback going forward. I'm not sure about the Cam Ryan situation, if he will come back this year in general just to play a bowl game, or if you just prepare for the draft next year. He's a senior, so either prepare for the draft next year or come back and play. What are your thoughts on this game? And what the hell is wrong with USC? Are they ever going to win a national championship? I don't think so, because Lincoln Riley's bringing in that same thing he did to Oklahoma. You have a great offense, but your defense special teams is not fucking good.
They can't make an open field tackle. They let and on like that game losing drive for them, they couldn't make a damn tackle in the open field. Dudes were getting their ankles taken. They couldn't finish a wrap. People were escaping tackles. Like it was, and it's been the same thing all year, but I was just very shocked. Obviously, both of us picked USC, and I feel like the biggest Utah supporter since week 0. Like even with Cam Rising out, I said, I'm going with Utah till they lose. Obviously they lost. And I think in this situation with the QB situation of, what the hell? Utah, brain fart. Sorry.
Nate Johnson
and
Bryson Barnes.
So we had seen Barnes play well week 1 versus Florida, but then we had also seen him get benched for Nate Johnson because of how inefficient and bad he was in the following weeks. Now, Nate Johnson obviously doesn't offer the same passing attack that Barnes does, but I was shocked just off of how bad we saw him play just a couple weeks ago before he got benched to then him coming in this game and winning it. So, like, good for him. But I was definitely shocked by that. Caleb. I mean, these weeks he's played like shit. And it happens to literally every quarterback. You're going to have a down week. But coming off of, allegedly wanting ownership of a team, like very, very minimal ownership, obviously, but he wants a stake of ownership. If that's true, his dad and him have also said, we might come back to school another year if it's not one of like the 5 teams I want to play for. My first thought with that is like, who the hell do you think?
Do you know what? Do you know what 5 teams was to play for? By the way, what was it? Jacksonville
I can find it. Hold on. But just like, I don't want to be harsh and like sound like an asshole, but like, who do you think you are? Like, do you know how the draft works, dude? Like, the worst teams are going to be picking.
You pick if they draft you, you play. That's what it is.
That is how a draft works. And I understand Bo Jackson got out of his thing with like Tampa in like 82 or whenever he was drafted. This is 2023, all right? And you're not Bo Jackson. So like, let's just relax a little bit. And it's not the best time for him to be playing like shit. I don't want to say shit because he still put up like 350. He didn't turn the ball over and he had a touchdown on the ground, but he's lost 2 weeks in a row. Last week, he absolutely played like shit against Notre Dame. And then this week, he doesn't have a passing touchdown. So I think it's pretty poor timing for, his game to not look as solid as it has been just because of the stories that have been coming out about what he has or hasn't. It's alleged. No, we haven't heard it come directly from his mouth. But the things that were coming out, it's a little unfortunate that you're starting to play like an average or a slightly above average quarterback right now when you've got dudes on Twitter saying that you're like the next coming of Jesus when it comes to football. So it's just what it seems like on Twitter all the time. And I understand he's been a great quarterback since he was with Lincoln at Oklahoma too. Like, he's a very good quarterback. And he's going to probably.
It's a great story, but he's not the greatest college quarterback of all time.
Right.
Like, let's stop.
Yeah.
Let's just stop.
We shouldn't change. Maybe we should change it, but it doesn't need to be like. I feel like for if players are starting to want like star players are starting to want just the smallest amount of ownership. That would be cool if you're like, I think it would have to be like a bird rights thing in basketball where like you have to be there for at least a certain amount of years before you're qualified to get a certain contract, right? That's like the bird rights when it comes to NBA. So I feel like if you wanted to make a similar comparison to the NFL, once a player has been on your team for a certain amount of years, maybe you can negotiate that in the next deal. And maybe they change the rule on that eventually, like the next CBA, whenever that is, like 10 years or whatever. But you've never put on an NFL uniform. You haven't stepped on an NFL field. Like to make that request, if it's true, is just so wild to me. And I know I'm kind of ranting about it, but it makes no sense in my mind. And then you go out here and like you throw the ball 66%, you throw 250, but you don't have a touchdown. You've got 27 yards on the ground and a touchdown there. But they had one receiver do everything, and it just the defense sucked. So it I don't know, against an offense that scores like friggin' 21 points a game or whatever. Like, it's not like they were going against
they're a slow-paced offense too. Very
slow-paced offense. And that probably comes with also, not having Cam Rising out there who's so dynamic. But, I mean, the Utah rushing attack ran all over USC. The quarterback played well. I mean, I think you said it, Sion Vaki or whatever, 150 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. And the turnover differential was Utah won the turnover differential as well. So, oh wait, no, I think they were even in turnovers actually.
Yeah,
No,
I think
I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
They
I'm
had
wrong. USC won the turn. They only had one turnover and they forced two, and it just it just makes no sense to me. Utah is a very good team, though. I've been saying that for a while, but this was pretty shocking to me considering the quarterback situation.
and the Caleb Williams thing. How many teams you say you want to play for? He said you want to play a certain amount of teams.
Hold on.
Was it like the Bears or some shit, or with the Justin Fields thing? I think the Bears is probably one of them, and I think Jacksonville. If he said Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is gonna be the quarterback for a very long time. I don't know about Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence would be there for a while. I mean, the question is, when it comes to Caleb Williams, what teams need quarterbacks besides the Bears?
All right, I found the article.
Yeah, go ahead.
The title is Rumor Caleb Williams has a list of 5 NFL teams he'll play for. Otherwise, he will return to USC and make more money. I hate to tell you, dude, if you're the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, you're not making more in NIL. You're not. That's not how it fucking works. It makes no sense to me that you can be in that mindset when you are the projected 1-1. Who cares where you go? You are the number 1 pick, and the team that has the number 1 pick will have it for a reason because they need you. And then with that is, I said it in the last video, that's 5 years of contractual security, financial security as a number 1 pick. That is the most, obviously, you're the number 1 pick. You're making the most money out of everybody in this draft class for the next 4 to 5 years. So, I mean, barring extensions and stuff that could happen like year 3, year 4, but you know what I mean? Like the contractual and financial security that he's just apparently going to pass over to make NIL money for another year. And I get it. He's the best quarterback in the country right now, but I would really want to see a number 1 pick contract next to his NIL income this year. It just doesn't make much sense to me. Here's what the rumor was. This is what was said. Caleb Williams says he can make more money returning to USC next season than as a rookie in the NFL, and says he can pick what team he wants to go to because of that. Caleb's only 5 teams he would play for, and this is alleged, this is a rumor, this is not, guaranteed to have come out of his mouth. I want to make that clear before we continue. Cowboys, Raiders.
Whoa. They got Dak Prescott. Go ahead. What's the second one?
Like locked up. We have him locked up, and if we trade him, it's $60 million against the cap if we get rid of him. So we have to keep him.
Not get rid of him.
Well, I personally don't want to get rid of him, but when it comes to money, like hell yeah, you can't get rid of him. He said Cowboys, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, and Niners.
Oh, okay. Niners, no. I know this
Niners aren't happening. Cowboys aren't happening. Those other 3 teams could work. And the Vikings are bad. So depending on the Vikings are bad. So depending on where they end up, by the end of the year, they know Kirk is going somewhere else. And if they're within the top 10, or it's presumed that Kirk will go somewhere else after this year. But if they're in the top 10 pick-wise, which I think we would both assume that they would be there, why wouldn't they do the same thing that the Panthers just did with the Bears? Maybe not give up as much capital, but for Caleb Williams, you probably will have to, So, I think it would be pretty electric if the Vikings traded up from, say, like the 8th or 9th spot in the draft to 1, and you paired JJ and Caleb Williams. I think that would be pretty cool. But Cowboys and Niners is just not happening.
No.
The Raiders, I feel like, will win 6 or 7 games, so they're going to be in the 20s.
If Josh McDaniels wants to keep his job, you better get Caleb Williams. If he wants to keep his job,
they're going to have to lose.
Jimmy G is injury prone. Brian Hoyer played like garbage against the Bears. Garbage. Yeah. Like he's Brian Hoyer's always been a backup for the Patriots. He's a backup QB. He's not a starter. He lost a job in Houston, lost a job in San Francisco, lost a job in Cleveland. I mean, he's never really won the starting quarterback. What else? What was it? The Cowboys. The
Giants just have too much money invested in Daniel Jones. I mean, they're paying him $40 million a year, 160 total. Now I get it; it'll be done in what 2-3 years. It'll be done, but like that.
So what you want? So if this allegedly happens for the Giants, you just want Caleb Williams to sit there for 2 years. Brian Dable will get fired because I mean, I'll say this. I think to get a little bit off topic, since we talk about Caleb Williams, if he goes to the Giants, let's say Tyrod Taylor is like still there for like another year, so you know the veterans they leave after 1-2 year contracts. I think Tyrod maybe starts the rest of the year and next year, and if Caleb Williams gets drafted by the Giants, he'll probably sit down for a year, and once he's ready, you know, they may get rid of Tyrod. But it's the Daniel Jones thing, like you said, and Saquon. Is Saquon going to be there, or is he going to get traded?
Well, so that's a big thing too. Saquon's been very vocal about how he wants to stay, but if he wants to stay, they need. Like, I get it. He signed like a 1-year extension or whatever, but I would imagine that him and his agent would definitely be pushing for like an actual extension next season, not just a 1-year, like stay here for another year type thing. Like with how vocal he's been about wanting to stay, I would imagine that he would like at some point next year, if not before the year even starts, do kind of a similar thing where it's like, look, I want to be here, but y'all have to want me here too. And you have to show me that in the contract. So to take on what a number 1 pick makes, which I will look that up.
They make at least like $20 million a year.
Like and then if you pick up the 5th-year option, it goes up to like 30 or whatever, depending on the position. So
I know the signing bonus is high as shit.
Yeah.
For a number 1 pick, it's high as shit. The guaranteed money is like not fully. Some of it is fully. Maybe like if let's say your contract's like $36 billion and a half, your fully guaranteed contract might be like $24 million.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So the projected contract for the number 1 pick in the 2023 NFL draft is estimated to be around $41.2 million in total value, with a signing bonus of approximately $27 million. So the cap hit would be like $7.5 million the first year, but like that's why the signing bonus is so high. So the cap hit isn't as high throughout the years. They just pay it in the bonus. But yeah, I mean, you're investing a lot of money into that number 1 pick, which we're assuming Caleb will be. So considering what he was talking about when it comes to, you know, the specific teams or whatever, it just makes no sense to me because you have to evaluate the cap space issue going on with every team. Like there are very few teams that next year they can say like, we can do whatever we want because we have a lot of cap. Like this year, Dallas has a lot of cap this year, but next year we have like 4 million or something right now. So there's going to be moves that need to be made if we want to pick someone up. There's going to be cuts and stuff if we want our first rounders to get, you know, like consistent PT and stuff. Because we got to pay them like a first rounder, you know? So, and we have a linebacker coming back next year, Demarion Overshawn from Texas that got hurt in the preseason. He's going to be a dog. That's off topic. What I'm talking about here is just Caleb, if that is a true request, it's so ridiculous that you need to fire your publicist, you need to fire your agent. I don't know who is the one putting these quotes out there, but it sounds ridiculous. It sounds idiotic. You can't with the amount of money that and also $27.5 million signing bonus.
I'm set for life if I ever sign.
No, that's what I mean. Like, what are you talking about? Your damn NIL money.
After taxes is like after tax, it's like because it's like maybe 40 to 50% depending on what state you live in. That's still like 15, $60 million.
Yeah. Well, dude. So like, imagine. I guess Texas is out of the question now because they got CJ, but like Florida, say Baker is like more of a rental or something, and he has an opportunity to go start somewhere else next year. If he's in Tampa, he doesn't have to pay anything in state tax. So it's all federal tax. And it's the same situation in Texas as well. Obviously, the Texas teams are filled, but the teams that he's asking for, it just doesn't make sense to me because, number one, some of those teams are not going to be in a position to be able to get you next year either. If you want to stay and go next year, you think Dallas is going to be in contention for the number one pick next year?
Hell no.
No? Like, what are you talking about? And it just as bad as the Giants have been this year, I don't think that they'll be in contention for number one either. And then when it comes to what you were saying earlier with Tyrod and Daniel Jones, they're paying Daniel Jones $40 million a year. So I guarantee that
$92 million in guaranteed money.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the incentives are like snap percentage wise. So like this is hurting him a little bit, but it's also performance wise. And based on like what he played like last year, he hasn't touched that this year. So that's going to be a pretty big kind of a waste of money. Like at least half of that contract is a waste of money. I don't want to say that he doesn't deserve anything. Like I think he's like a low tier starting quarterback. But I could see Gardner starting over him really. So it's just, I don't know. Caleb, figure it out, dude. Figure it out. That's all I have to say. Figure it out, man. Because if this isn't a legitimate quote, it's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to be realistic. We live in a world that's 2023. You got to be realistic. If this is true, be realistic. Don't live in a fantasy. The final thing we'll talk about as far as college football before we get to NFL, the top 10 rankings and which team can probably squeeze in the college football playoff. There's a lot of teams. We're heading into week 9 of college football. It's about 15 weeks in total, including like the championship games, stuff like that. Which team could possibly squeeze in the top 4? Which next year they'll have a 12-team playoff, so we wouldn't have to worry about that next year. It'll be 12 teams. But just the final year before the college football playoff format changes. Next episode, we will let you know who could possibly squeeze in and why. That's next. If you can like, comment, subscribe to Total Pole Nation, for the sports. We'll catch you.